Shang Tsung. Custom combos, tips, and tricks. What's up guys, BltzZ here today bringing you another video. Without a doubt we are super late talking about the first DLC character for Mortal Kombat 11, but better late than never. And in all honesty, once you get his strange button input patterns down, Shang Tsung is pretty damn fun. At its core, Shang Tsung is a zoner and that's where his strengths lie. However, he does have many options for combo starters, all of which have amazing range and can be used for whiff punishing. So ultimately, it's however you decide to play him, it's your choice. You can play mid-screen and rush people down, or you can stand back and zone until your opportunity comes up. I'm not going to showcase all of his possible combos because that would take a long time, but we will show the essentials and notable high damaging ones I think you'll need to know. Also, it really helps to learn to play as Scorpion, Sub-Zero, or any of the popular characters such as Sonya, Erron Black, and Garrus. This way Shang Tsung can utilize his soul steal to the max. So without further ado, let's kick things off and get right into Shang Tsung's ranked variations. The first variation we're going to talk about is Fire and Brimstone. It comes with Ground Eruption and Inferno Skull, two bread and butter moves that have been with Shang Tsung since his first introduction to the series. Ground Eruption is a great combo extender and does pretty high damage, and Inferno Skulls are high hitting regular projectiles. So let's talk about his normal attacks. Universal through all of Shang Tsung's variations are his normal moves. Right here I tagged his best pokes to use to interrupt or set your opponents up for grabs. Standing one is a normal high jab which comes out at 8 frames and also leads into his combo starters. Down one is a traditional mid-hitting 8-frame poke. Back 3 is a low-hitting move that can combo into another low or an overhead attack for great mix-ups, which we'll talk about later. Down 3 is his best poke in my opinion. It's a low-hitting 7-frame poke with decent range, and it doesn't cause the opponent to stagger backwards unlike his down 4 which starts at 9 frames, and opponents that are hit by it are way too far away to combo into it without special moves. Shang Tsung has some pretty good advancing normals. Rising Kick travels about mid-screen similar to Sub-Zero's forward 4. Minus the fact that it is a high attack, meaning it can be ducked, it is a pretty good move and a gap closer. And it's +5 on block as you can see here on the bottom left. This means you can squeeze in a jab and even go for grab setups. Other than jab, you can do down 3 since it is a low, and it's also -2 on block, which online is almost plus. Now I don't know why this exists, but Shang Tsung also has a similar move with Rushing Spike. It's forward 3 and travels slightly less than forward 4, but the crazy part is it is an overhead attack. Now it's not amazing like Erron Black's, but if you look at the bottom left, it is -7, which is safe to throw out because you cannot be punished for it. I feel like I needed to mention Shang Tsung's forward throw. It's unique in 2 ways. For one, it does less damage than normal throws. It only does 120 damage instead of 140. But the reason for that is the 20 damage that is taken off goes towards your health bar. A nice little touch, but nothing too crazy. Unless your opponent won't tech grabs, then you can really just build some health back on them. Now we're going to get into the more interesting part about any character, and that is the combo strings. Right here I have tagged all of his combo strings, which we're going to try to go more in depth on. 114 is your bread and butter string that can combo into his special moves. Nothing too crazy, the first hit is a high, so you want to be careful of whiffing that. Back 1-1 is an advancing mid-hitting combo move. It has pretty good range and isn't duckable. You can use this to actually whiff punish your opponent from mid-screen and even start combos off with, but I mainly use it in the second part of my combo strings to make sure I can reach my opponent to continue it. The range on this move is great since it moves you forward. Shapeshifter pisses me off because I saw this in the trailer and I was super hyped thinking it was an overhead low combo string, which would have been great for Shang Tsung. But for some reason, somehow that first hit is a mid. This isn't entirely bad because this means it's not a duckable move, and at the very least the second hit is a low. It also has really good range and is a good move for whiff punishing your opponents mid-screen. And of course it is special cancelable. Now if you complete this string with forward 242, Shang Tsung actually launches the opponent. This move is also safe on block because it is +4. If blocked, it's best to go into down 3 or any other poke and then go for a grab. It looks as if this move can actually be comboed into, but unfortunately in mid-screen it is not. However, in the corner you can combo right after it. Here's a small example of what you can do. Plenty of characters have strings that cannot work mid-screen. One I can think of off the top of my head is Kotal Kahn and his 221 string. It can link back into itself in the corner, whereas mid-screen it can't. Not that this is viable, but I just wanted to show you guys an example, and I really do hope Kotal Kahn gets some tweaks in the future because he seems fun, but he's just lacking a few tools. Raising Hell is a 2-hitting high damage move. It almost does 100 damage by itself, and the second hit is a low. The first hit is duckable, so you wouldn't want to start many strings off with this, but you would use this mid combo because it is special cancelable. Hit confirming this off of a jump in 2 attack can lead to some really good damage for only 1 bar. Here is an example of using this combo, ending it with a Soul Steal. You can also end this with a second ground Eruption. This can give you almost 20 more damage added onto the first one. And if your opponent is playing the character that you don't know how to play as, it's best to end it with ground Eruption rather than Soul Steal and put yourself in a bad position. My favorite combo string for Shang Tsung is Ruthless. It's the opposite of what I wanted 4-2-4 Shapeshifter to be. This move is actually a low overhead, and the best part is it's special cancelable. But you can't just throw this move out there randomly. This string is also interruptible, meaning after they block the low kick, you can actually jab or even uppercut Shang Tsung before he can connect the overhead. Now that's just a simple way to balance the string because it does low profile high attacks, but as Shang Tsung you can actually mix them up with this. Sorcerer Sweep is another string based off of Ruthless. It's a double hitting low string which you can do every now and then to keep them guessing if you're going to go overhead or low. It's not special cancelable, but it does low profile projectiles and high moves, which is also really good. Now, all of this doesn't really guarantee that you're going to beat your opponent. You still as a player have to know when to use these moves and how to apply them to the match in order to succeed. Let's move on to Shang Tsung's special moves. At its core, Shang Tsung is ultimately a zoner at the end of the day. His special moves all consist of projectiles. Fire Skull is a high hitting projectile which travels full screen and can be ducked. If amplified, it'll launch a second skull also at the high height. I personally don't like this move mainly because the amplify doesn't make the second one a mid unless you use 2 meters on this move. But even so, if you amplify this move twice, which costs 2 bars, it launches 3 skulls and the third one hits as a mid. And it also has a crushing blow, which we will get into later. I just feel like this costs way too much and is not entirely worth it. Ground Eruption is Shang Tsung's main combo extender when amplified. Normally it shoots 2 fireballs upwards from the ground, and there are 2 versions of this move that Shang Tsung has. You can initiate it at a farther range than normal, and you can use this to outzone enemies or reach enemies at the end of far away hitting combos, such as this one right here. Soul Steal is what makes Shang Tsung Shang Tsung. It has pretty good range and covers mid-screen and can even anti-air opponents approaching. When used normally, you can transform as your opponent for about 5 seconds. When amplified, the time is actually extended to 8 seconds long, and overall it does more damage. Definitely meter burn this if your opponent is playing a character that you know very well. Now the best thing about this move is that when you're transformed, you actually have access to all of your opponent's crushing blows, making Shang Tsung the character with the most crushing blows. However, the catch to this is that the crushing blows do less damage than they normally would. This is a different way to balance this, I guess, but however, I did notice that if you amplify his Soul Steal, and right here I do Sub-Zero's 1-2-4 crushing blow, it does about the same damage or slightly less. So another reason to use the meter burn on Soul Steal. Next up we have Corpse Drop, yet another zoning tool but a very interesting one. Like Ground Eruption, you can control where to place this move, either close, medium, far, or very far full screen. This move gives Shang Tsung a lot of screen control, and combined with Ground Eruption, this can really annoy people trying to get in. Why I find this move interesting is that it hits overhead, which is rare for a projectile to be classified as an overhead, and what makes this move even crazier is that if you amplify it, it explodes at decent range and hits low, which knocks down your opponent. So essentially, you can mix people up with this projectile from full screen, and a very funny thing you can do with this move as well is you can implement this into your block strings. If you do back 1-1 and close Corpse Drop, it will combo and hit your opponent, giving you a mix-up especially if you amplify it. And then to take it even further beyond, you can do 4-2-4 into close Corpse Drop for a low overhead, low mix-up. These 2 strings cause enough stagger to where the Corpse Drop can actually combo into it. Your opponents will have a tough time dealing with this if you can master it and implement this into your gameplay. The last special move on this variation is Sorcery Rush, a mid-hitting slide with mediocre range. If this move hit low, it would be a lot better, but that's reserved for his Reptile custom move. It can be amplified, and its main use is at the end of far away hitting combos. If you connect this, it puts your opponent almost full screen and you can allow for more zoning now. Now let's talk about Shang Tsung's crushing blows. Rising Chest Kick is an interesting crushing blow because it activates when you land this move as a punish on their get up, forward roll, or back roll. The window isn't the biggest to land this, so I don't see this occurring that often. Reserve Pain, however, is a crushing blow that you might find yourself landing almost every match, especially if you're gunning for it. To do this one, you need to miss, whiff, or block the first hit of back 1, and then down 2 overhead attack will connect and create a pop-up to continue the combo off of it. This can lead to some very good damage, and what I've noticed other Shang Tsung players doing is starting off the match or round with this move. At default match start, the distance is far enough for the first hit to whiff entirely or for them to block it since it is a mid, and from my experience, most characters at match start, when they block an attack, they usually crouch block, so the overhead attack should connect and create the pop-up, leading to some great damage. Forward 2-4-3 is another one that you probably will land every match. Forward 2 is a far-reaching whiff punishing move, so if you space this correctly, you can crushing blow any misspaced attacks your opponent may be throwing out. This one sends them almost full screen, so it sets up more zoning. Speaking of zoning, when throwing out high projectiles, you may find yourself come across opponents who duck instead of crouch block. When they duck, it causes high moves to whiff over their head, and they don't get any chip damage from blocking. However, if you amplify Flaming Skulls 3 times, the final one, which is a mid, will Crushing Blow if it is the only skull that lands a hit. Personally, I'm not a fan of this one. It costs way too much meter and doesn't do as much damage to compensate for it. Majority of characters in Mortal Kombat 11 have a Crushing Blow on their grabs. Usually to activate it, your opponent needs to have tried to escape or incorrectly teched out of a grab. This makes your next corresponding grab cause a Crushing Blow for more damage. However, with Shang Tsung, his back throw only Crushing Blows after he has used Soul Steal and turns back into himself. And the best part is that he can combo off of this Crushing Blow, which can lead to some really good damage. And if you pull this off correctly, you can loop your opponent back into Soul Steal and continue to pressure them. Especially if you're well experienced with that character. Shang Tsung has a good amount of options, and you can mix up the way that you play as him. You don't always have to play him as a zoner. You can get in and do some combos and also rack up some damage. And to top things off for this variation, we're going to showcase a few combo strings you guys should take the time to learn. I'm positive there are some better ones out there, but these are just some efficient ones that I could think of. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other combos you'd recommend for this variation. Now we're going to be talking about Shang Tsung's second tournament variation, Soul Taker. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm not too impressed with this variation. The first one is, in my opinion, the better version, and I've rarely seen anyone even use this one. This variation gets rid of Infernal Skulls altogether, and we get a slower starter projectile called Screaming Soul. It does do 20 more damage, which is kind of cool, and I do like the meter burn version of it a lot more, but Infernal Skull's startup and travel speed is still a bit faster than this one. You can delay the projectile to fake jumping opponents out and even cancel it at the cost of 1 defensive bar. But when you meter burn it, it turns into a laser beam and hits the opponent as a mid, which is probably my favorite thing about this variation. Also in this variation, we no longer have Ground Eruption. Instead, it has been replaced by Crashing Flames. And instead of it being a combo extender, it's actually used to end combos. It does okay damage, but not enough to warrant getting rid of Ground Eruption in my opinion. One thing I do like about Crashing Flames is that it does seem to track opponents after the first hit lands, and it launches them further away, setting up for more zoning. The main playstyle for this variation is to zone. It's clear cut. There's not many combo opportunities in this variation. Another new move is Scatter Souls. It's a close range move that pushes opponents off of you. It's safe on block at -6, but it's not a combo extender. I figured that in the corner we'd be able to set up juggles with this move, but that is not the case. You can meter burn it, but it changes the move up by making Shang Tsung toss a green projectile, and if it lands, it stuns your opponent. Similar to Cabal's Nomad Dash and Sub-Zero's Ice Ball. However, it does cost 1 bar, so I don't see this move being all too viable, especially since it is blockable, and also has a very slow startup. So Well is a new move, and it's also the main focus for this variation. Shang Tsung places the ball mid-air, and every time you inflict damage to your opponent, it stores health. However, in order for you to receive that health, you actually have to call it back yourself, because if you don't, it will disappear. This variation wants you to set up a So Well full screen and zone your opponent out to refill your health, which sounds kind of cool on paper, but Shang Tsung in this variation is missing a lot of his main zoning tools that would make this job a lot easier. Also, when you have So Well out and you do a crushing blow, it disappears. If that's not the most useless thing, I don't know what is. You still have Shang Tsung's default crushing blows that are tied to his character, but this variation does not add any new ones in addition to the one that it removed in Infernal Skulls, which is a bit disappointing. My favorite thing about different variations is seeing what kind of new crushing blows have been added to the character's kit. Mortal Kombat 11's new thing is the crushing blow, and that mechanic can really make or break a character. Characters like Garrus, who has a variation that offers multiple crushing blows, is just another reason why he's considered top tier. And now we're gonna get into the best part of these videos and my favorite part of Mortal Kombat 11, the custom moves. Shang Tsung has many great moves. Almost any combination of your preference can be viable and do great damage. Personally, I like Ermac's Lift combined with Explosive Corpse Drop and Vile Sorcery. Combined with his default moves and buttons, these 3 moves feel very good equipped together. Ground Eruption still is a good move and does lots of damage, but it takes up 2 slots. I think Ground Eruption does the most damage out of all of his custom moves, but we're going to try to get Shang Tsung to play differently than either of his tournament variations. As I said before, he has many good custom moves, and it's really hard to choose which ones are the best to use. Rain's Kick can put in some really good damage and causes a side switch, which is a really good option. It also has a crushing blow. Smoke's Shake move is actually a projectile parry, and if you amplify it, it parries projectiles and actual moves. Reptile Slide is not as good as Sub-Zero's because it doesn't low profile projectiles, but it's fucking awesome to look at, and can be used for overhead low mix-ups, and it also has a crushing blow that has to be hit from the maximum distance, but of course it's unsafe. Vile Sorcery gives you access to 2 moves, Malignant Sorcery and Vile Inscription. These are also the first moves I've seen that use the L2 button. Malignant Sorcery gives the opponent a debuff that lowers the damage that they inflict. This is indicated by the red aura that is placed around your opponent. Now that's a good move and all, but in all honesty, we're going to be using Vile Inscriptions way more. Vile Inscriptions increases the damage that you inflict to your opponent. As you can see here, this kick normally does 70 damage, but when we apply Vile, as indicated by the purple aura, they now take increased damage. And trust me, there is way more that we need to talk about with these moves. And the craziest thing about these moves is that they are unblockable and can be used at any range since it tracks. See here, we set the dummy to block all incoming attacks, and Vile Inscription still gets applied. And even on block, the damage has been increased. I really do think this is one of the best moves in the game. However, when you throw opponents, the debuff does go away. The animation to apply this debuff and how long it lasts are very good for Shang Tsung. As I said before, this move tracks your opponent, so see here we have them set to jump and also to block all attacks, yet it still connects. When you're full screen zoning out your opponent and they're trying to get in is probably the best moment to use this move. Once it's applied, you can continue to either zone them or even go in for some combos and rack up some crazy damage. Alright, now Ermac was one of my favorite characters from the old games and even in MK9. I also mained Green Lantern for a little bit in Injustice 1 and 2, so this move I'm already very biased about, but it's a good thing. Force Lift conflicts with Ground Eruption. It does do less damage, but it's easier to get combos off of, and it looks cooler. It has a Crushing Blow and can leave your opponent in perfect range for our overhead Crushing Blow attack as well. And after that Crushing Blow, it's pretty easy to combo back into Force Lift. Overall, I really think this move is pretty solid, and it's not a bad choice. You can't go wrong with this one. For the most part, Corpse Drop functions very similar to the previous variation. However, when it's amplified, it no longer hits as a low attack. And that's okay because now it hits as a mid and pops opponents up to follow up and continue combos with. Once you get used to calling it in close range, you can use this during your combo strings for massive damage. Yes, that does use 2 meters for amplifying, but pick and choose your moments on when you should spend the meter. I think this change to Corpse Drop is very good and gives Shang Tsung more combo opportunities from mid-screen and in the corner, further giving him more flexibility and creativity when it comes to combos. Here I just wanted to show you guys a little something if you're not sold yet on Violent Inscription. This is the same combo from before but with a jump and punch to start it off. Now look at how this combo works when you add Violent Inscription to the mix. Almost 55 damage from 2 bars is just crazy, and a small taste of what you can do. There's some more crazy things you can pull off with these moves combined together. Let me know in the comments below if you guys find anything else using this combination of moves, or even from using other moves as well. This next tip I almost forgot to include in this video. This applies to all of Shang Tsung's variations, so no worries, you can do this in rank too. Shang Tsung's 1-1-2 string has a lot of pushback. It's not a combo extender or combo starter at all. However, if we look at the frame data from the move list, it says this move is actually +4 on block. However, what I find is very strange is that if you turn on the player frame data from practice settings, this allows you to see live frame data on whatever moves you just used. Now if you do 1-1-2, instead of it saying it's +4 on block, it says it's actually +6. Now I don't know why this is the case. I'm actually going to save that later for another video on another time. But what this means is if you use Soul Steal from this position now, it's inescapable. Your opponent can't jump forward, backward, attack, or backdash. They will get hit by the Soul Steal. This is a very good option to pull out on your opponent when they think that they can push buttons. Right now I'm playing as Devora and I'm trying to jump and I'm trying to do everything I can to get out of this and I'm still getting hit. This can work on a good number of people in this game. However, universally, if they do perfect block the attack, they can actually react faster and punish you for using it. But of course, you need to pick and choose your moments on when to execute this. Every opponent will be different. It's up to you to figure out their habits and what they can react to. You can't even backdash quick enough to get out of this. Soul Steal isn't the only move that you can do this with also. You can replace this with Ground Eruption. With Ground Eruption, you can get full combos from this and even more damage from locking down your opponent, and it works the same way. If they try to jump forward, backward, anything, any type of movement at all, they're getting hit by it. And if they block it, they just get pushed back a little bit further. Utilize your plus on block strings to get your opponent antsy and to try to hit a button, and then you can full combo punish them. And finally, that's a wrap. This is possibly the longest video I've made ever, and I'm so sorry that it took so long to make this, guys. After my vacation, I just got so busy with work and I just been slammed. I have not been able to make any content, but that's gonna change right now. I'm gonna announce something soon in a few days, so you guys be sure to stay tuned to the channel for that. I'm back to a regular schedule now, so I'm gonna try and upload even more than before and not just guides every few weeks. Guides do take some time because a lot goes into them, but I want to focus on making regular videos for you guys. Whether it's online matches with commentary or live streaming with you all, we're going to get back into it. Final Fantasy VII is coming out soon, and it got me so hyped I started playing Final Fantasy XIV again as well. We're just tearing through the endgame content there, so let me know if you guys would be interested in content for that sort of stuff. And don't think I forgot, Liu Kang is most definitely coming next after this video, and I'm super excited for that one. Shang Tsung was definitely a lot of fun to learn, but I still prefer custom moves over his tournament variation. What are some of your favorite moves? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new. More Mortal Kombat videos are coming soon, and also a big announcement you won't want to miss. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.